Hi everyone, Tori here, working on December Daily Day 25. Can you believe it? This is my last December Daily 2017 process video. I decided to finish on the 25th, and instead of doing the 26th to the 31st, to do more pages for the 25th, just because I had a ton of photos on Christmas Day that I wanted to use, and not a lot happened between the 26th and the 26th and the 31st. And not only that, like, my album is really full, so I figured I would just finish on the 25th and be happy with it. And I am really happy. I was also feeling kind of done. So this is what I am doing for the 25th. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video. I thought about breaking it down into multiple parts, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do a longer video today, and hopefully people will enjoy crafting along with me. So whether you want to watch or just listen or stick your thing going, like stick your video up going while you're crafting, that is a-okay. So the first thing I had done was I went through and I put some post-it notes trying to decide where I was going to put each of the pictures. That way I could decide how big to print them off. Then I printed off all of my pictures and I placed them in the pockets, and then from there I'm going to get going. So to start with, I had this really great quote that I believe is Jasmine Jones' handwriting quote, and it says, "Together is our favorite place to be." And I got it this year from Ali Edwards' site, and I really wanted to use it in my December daily, and so I figured today, or the 25th, or the Christmas day, would be the perfect day to use it. So I trimmed it down a little bit and I glued it onto the back of the page from the day before, so it just had some red cardstock there basically, and I felt like it needed a little something to jazz it up, so I ended up using this sequin ribbon. I don't know if you call it ribbon, but it's like this sequin trim, and I just put it down in between the red and the white, and I love how it just adds that little gold pop to that intro page for the 25th. So one of the things you'll see me do here for the 25th is struggle a lot with trying to decide how I want to use my wood veneer number 25. And every other day in this album I have used those wood veneer numbers that I got from Felicity Jane, and I really wanted to use them today too, and I looked everywhere throughout this spread and just couldn't make it work. So I ended up not using it, but I will note that it's the 25th in a different way. And I figured it's Christmas Day, it's a little special, so I think it's okay if it doesn't look like every other day in the album, right? So then I'm going to decide which project life cards or journaling cards I want in each spot and kind of set those out before I begin working on each spread. So I didn't have a lot of 4x6 cards left, so it was kind of really hard for me to pick. So I kind of just went through and looked to see if I had anything that might work. I will use some of my pattern paper for this as well, just to cut it down to make it fit in those spots and go with the vibe that I was going with. Okay, so once I have all the 4x6 cards, then I'm going to go with the 3x4 cards. And the funny thing is that when I was picking out all of my December daily supplies, I was really afraid that I wasn't going to have enough journaling cards. Like, I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have enough journaling cards, I don't have enough, and kept buying more and more. In the end, I had way too many 3x4 cards and not enough 4x6 cards. So I guess that's a note for next year, that I don't need more journaling cards because I still have lots, but you know, I think some of them I'll be able to use for non-Christmas pages too, so that is a-okay. So I kind of just went through all of them, just seeing what I thought might fit and putting it in to the pockets, and then I'm actually going to put the spreads together like one by one, but I kind of felt like if I put the photos in place, if I put the journaling cards in place, then I can do the journaling and the embellishments and the fun part for me, I guess, and not have to keep pulling out the cards or whatever. So yeah, that was kind of my plan. Kind of the way that I decided which 3x4 cards to use was kind of twofold. One, I was pulling out my favorite cards that hadn't been used yet in my album that I really wanted to try and use, and was seeing if they could go anywhere. And then the other part of it was that I was looking to see if there was any sentiments or things on the cards that I thought might go well with that spread. So for example, that December 25 card that you just saw, I really loved, and I hadn't been able to use it yet, obviously, because today was December 25th, so I was like, I know that I want to use that. And then there was a card that is an older card that I had in my stash that said selfie fail, and I knew that that sentiment worked with one of the stories that I wanted to tell, so that worked out well. And then at the back of my album, I always like to do a like goodbye 2017, hello 2018 kind of page. So that is what I'm picking cards out for now, and I thought it would be fun to go with like a black, white, and gold kind of feel for the back of this spread. And I also had these letterpress cards that were calendar cards from a long time ago, a few years ago actually, and I thought, hey, I could cut these down and turn them into 3x4 cards for my spread. So the back spread actually had 2 3x4s and a 4x6, and like I told you earlier, I didn't have any 4x6 cards left, so I ended up just cutting down that black and white pattern paper from my stash that you can see there, and I'll end up gluing 2 3x4 designs to it, like the Let's Do This letterpress card, as well as that lined journaling card, because I knew that I would want to do some journaling on this spread. Kind of introducing 2018. It's just the way that I like to finish my December daily album. I just like the way that it looks, so that's what I'm going to go with. So again, I'm not actually going to work on that spread. I was just cutting down the cards and getting all the cards ready, and then I'll pop those in the pockets, and then from there I'll move on to the decorating. So I knew that I had one story that was going to be a little longer, so I decided to do a, I guess, 3x8 insert, and I knew that I needed some paper to go into that insert, so I just cut down this green pattern paper from Felicity Jane and just slipped it in there, and I wanted both sides to be the same color, so I cut down 2 pieces of it. And there you go. So now that I have all the cards kind of picked out, now I can begin working on the actual decorating. So I played around with this page a little bit, trying to decide if there were any die cuts or ephemera or pieces that I wanted to use to decorate it. And I thought about using these gold snowflakes, and I really wanted to use them, but some of them were too big. So I ended up finding this one that was glittery gold, and just sticking one of them down there. And I like that it just adds a little something extra to that page and ties in the gold sequin trim that I already have on there. I'll end up keeping the rest of that page fairly simple and working on the right hand side. So on the right hand side, I had a photo of Bernie in the snow and my slippers / pajamas, and a photo of us having breakfast. So on Christmas Day, we had about 1.5 feet of snow, and earlier we had taken Bernie for a walk, and he just loves the snow. He loves it so much, so I actually let him out on the deck behind our house, and he's just bouncing around and rolling around in the snow. It was hilarious, and he was having so much fun. And I wanted to grab a photo of him so you can kind of see that he's like all the way up to his like chin in snow at the door. It was really cute. So then I was just trying to decide how to put this page together. I really wanted to use that Wild Whisper Christmas tree card that I designed this in my album, and I hadn't found a place to use it earlier, so I thought this would be a good spread to put it on. And then I was trying to decide what to do in the other 3x4 card. Now, I could have totally cut this out of the video because I don't end up using this, but I actually sometimes like to include my fails. Fails, is that the right word? My mistakes and fails, or the things I decide not to do in my spread with you, because I feel like it's more realistic so you can actually see what it's like to create. I have thought about using this 3x4 card that had these diamonds on it, and I thought, oh, it would look so cool if I cut it up and added it to that Holly Jolly card, and then I was like, I hate it. So I just put that aside, and I think what my struggle is that I was using this Holly Jolly card because it matched the Christmas tree, because it also came from the Wild Whisper Home for the Holidays collection, and it just wasn't going with the vibe that I wanted. I just didn't like it. So I ended up taking it away and realizing that on the back it had that December 25, and realizing, it will be okay, Tori, if you don't use the wood veneer 25. You could use a journaling card that says December 25th instead. I was kind of debating for a while. Like, you'll see that I don't actually put it in the pocket or anything for a little while, just because I was trying to give myself permission to not use the wood veneer. I was like, but I use it every other day. I have to use it. But it took me like, I don't know, like half an hour to decide that it was okay for me not to use the wood veneer, number 25. So when I can't make a decision, I just move on to something else, and I decided to use one of these Felicity Jane circles. It had a P and it said pajamas, and I thought that would be cute to go on that spread where you can see my slippers and my pajamas. So I stuck that down, and then I'm just going to add like a little sprinkling of enamel dots and sequins and things around that, because I just love adding enamel dots and things like that, and I love adding them in little clusters. So it just looks really cute. So you can see I had some gold sparkly enamel dots from Chamel. I had some white stars from Freckled Fawn. I had some pearls from Freckled Fawn. And I just kind of added all of those there. I think that pink enamel dot is also Chamel. So you can see that. And then I also had some other embellishments like these wood veneer stars and trees that came from Felicity Jane, and I thought, oh, those will look kind of cute there too, so I popped those in there too. I feel like December 25th, when I was working on it, was just this opportunity to use all of the embellishments and goodies that I had left over that I really loved, but like hadn't gotten to use yet. So like those circles from Felicity Jane, I really wanted to use them, but just they haven't really gone anywhere else. So what I'm going to do is for the whole December 25th spread, which is like multiple pages, I'm going to use multiple ones, kind of trying to tie all those pages together. So then I was trying to decide where to do my journaling, because I did want to do a little journaling about morning and breakfast and stuff like that. So I ended up just doing it right on to that Christmas tree card in the white space, and just using a Project Life Black 0.3 pen, I believe, just to journal around that, and just journaling about Bernie loving the snow and having breakfast. And we always have cinnamon buns on Christmas Day. It's like a Bissell family tradition. So I wanted to include that in my journaling. And I added some journaling to the December 25th card too. And then I thought I would just use one of those tiny word phrase stickers from the Felicity Jane Christmas collection. And I just added a couple of those to Bernie's little spread there, and a little heart glitter enamel dot as well. I can't really remember what that said. Sorry. Okay. So once that was done, I thought I would work on the next page, and the next page had everybody opening their presents. So there were just a bunch of black and white photos. Actually, my sister took all of these photos, and I realized that I didn't take any pictures of people opening presents, which is so silly. But later that day, my sister had posted these to Instagram, and I was like, stealing those. And so I wanted to add all of those, so I printed them all off in black and white. And then I'm going to add just a teeny bit of journaling to each photo, and I thought it would be fun to do some stamping. Oh, sorry, my camera's a little off center there, so I fixed it. So I'm going to use the stamp set that I designed for Wild Whispers Home for the Holiday collection. And there were 2 different labels on the stamp set, which I just love label stamps. I don't know, they're just so fun because you can do them in all different colors, and Yeah, I just love them. So I ended up stamping that rectangle one a bunch of times, and also I could not find my acrylic block, so I was using the lid of the Stays On ink. Oh dear, Tori. And I just stamped it a ton of times because I figured that way I could also have extras just in case I screwed it up or anything like that. And then I'm going to trim each of those out, and I'll use one on each photo. That way each photo can have just a little tiny bit of journaling. I can journal about what's going on in the photo or what the person got for Christmas or something like that. And then I also have that another one of those circles with from Felicity Jane. This one says P and presents, which is pretty applicable since we're all opening presents. So there's a photo of me, and there's a photo of Andrew, my brother-in-law, and my grandma. A photo of my dad opening his presents. He got a bunch of Raptors stuff, which he loved. By the way, the Raptors are the basketball team here. And my mom got an iWatch, which she was super psyched about. So I just journaled about that. And then I think I was journaling about the different sweaters I got or something like that. And what I decided to do was use my tiny attacher and just staple each of those little labels on the photo. Again, I like doing repetition in my layout, so I felt like having a little label on each photo and stapling each one kind of in the same way. And then using those circles again would tie all of the spreads together and kind of make like a fun page where it's really simple, but it's also really nice to just have a page like that in your album where there's lots of photos and teeny tiny bits of journaling. It's not a ton of journaling, but I know that there's going to be more journaling on some of the other pages, so I felt like it was okay to just have a little tiny bit on this page. And then that circle chipboard piece I'm going to actually glue on the outside of the page protector right in the middle of the page, like at the cross point between the different pages. Yeah, I love that. And now I'll work on the next page. So the next page is a photo of my brother Josh and his brand new fiance Esther, which, by the way, if you didn't know that my brother's engaged, he is. He just got engaged to this lovely English woman. Do you call her English? She's from England. Do you say British? I have no idea. Well, maybe I sound like an idiot on the internet. Somebody leave me a comment and let me know. Anyway, she's from England. She's lovely, and she says lovely all the time in her wonderful accent. And she's so sweet. And unfortunately, they could not be with us for Christmas, obviously, because Josh lives in England, and so does Esther. So we were having a Skype call. And we actually do this every single Christmas because it feels like every single Christmas for the last, like, 10 years or something. We haven't been able to be together, which is really sad, but also kind of one of the things I love about my family. Like, I just love that we're all like following our dreams and doing what makes us happy. And if that means that Courtney is in Africa, or I'm in Africa, or Josh is in England, or I'm in, one year I was in Texas, I don't know, then that's like really amazing. And I love that. And I love that every Christmas we Skype each other. So I'm pretty sure the last 3 or 4 December dailies I have a Christmas Day Skype call photo. So yeah, this is a photo of Josh and Esther as Courtney, Andrew, my mom, and dad and I Skype them in England. So I have that there, and then I also have this 4x6 card, and I wanted to use some of all the pretty die cuts that I have, so I ended up using some die cuts, I believe. I want to say they're My Mind's Eye. I might be wrong. I cannot remember at this current moment. I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, I'm like 80% sure. 70%. So I had that elf and then joy banner and a present. I know the present comes from Felicity Jane, I'm pretty sure. And I just adhered those down just for fun. And then I wanted to do some journaling just about Skyping Josh and Esther and Christmas Day, and they were telling us what presents they got and what they had done for Christmas Day and how much I really miss them, but how I love that they're together at least. And then I finished that off with just a couple enamel dots using the same colors of enamel dots that I've been using in the other spreads. So some of my Mind's Eye ones, Chamel ones, and Freckled Fawn. I love enamel dots. I think they're going to be like one of my favorite embellishments this year. Yeah, I think so. So after I was done sticking the enamel dots down, I'm going to just stick that card in and move on to the next spread. And oh, by the way, I stuck a label on the photo of Josh and Esther just talking about Skyping with them on that day. One of the things I realized was that photo of Josh and Esther I printed off on my Canon selfie, so it was slightly smaller than 4x6, so I decided to back it on a piece of paper. So I just cut down Felicity Jane paper that was green that would kind of match the journaling card that I had there, and I'm just going to adhere the photo to that and then stick it in the pocket. That's usually what I do since my Canon selfie photos are never the right size and the page protectors are never the right size, so I end up backing a lot of them, and I'm okay with that. I think it still looks good. I actually like the pop of color that it adds to the spread. So I'll pop that into the pocket and flip it over and start working on the next day's spread. So here is a fun story. So I actually have, you can see I have 4 photos there that are pretty much the same thing, and I actually have a longer story to tell about this, so I'm going to tell that story on that 3x8 insert. And while I'm doing this and working on it, I'll tell you this story. So you see those bunnies? We had these stuffed animal bunnies. There's a girl bunny and a boy bunny, and we have had those bunnies my entire life. Like my parents purchased those or something when we were little kids, or somebody gave them to them, and we have had those bunnies my entire life. And they are honestly one of my favorite Christmas decorations every single year. Like they go into the box and they only come out at Christmas time, and they're a Christmas Mrs. Bunny and a Christmas Mr. Bunny, and I love them so much. And when we were little, my sister and I used to play with them and cuddle them, and I just loved those bunnies, and my sister loves them too. Well, this year we pulled them out of the box, and we were decorating, and my sister just casually said to my mom, "Oh, I love these bunnies. They're my favorite decorations in the whole entire house. They're my favorite Christmas decorations." And my mom goes, "Oh, you can have them." And she just gave them to my sister, and I was like horrified and heartbroken because they're my favorite Christmas decorations. And I said, "No, she can't. She can't have them." Because my sister's married, so she was planning on just like taking the Christmas bunnies out of the house, and I was devastated because they're like my favorite thing in the entire world. And I was like, "You can't give them to Courtney. Like, I love those bunnies." So anyways, we were playfully fighting about the Christmas bunnies, and of course my mom, trying to be a mom and trying to like make it so that we wouldn't fight, was like, "Okay, well, why don't you each have a bunny? Like, you can have a girl bunny and she can have a boy bunny, or vice versa." And my dad, being my dad, was like, "Neither of you get the bunnies." So then it was like, "Wait, no, I want the bunnies," and Courtney wanted the bunnies, but my dad was like, "Neither of you will get them," because we were fighting over them, and my mom was like, "You can each have one." But of course Courtney and I were like, because we're siblings, and you know how siblings do, we're like, "No, you can't have one bunny. Like, they're a set. It's a Mr. and Mrs. Bunny. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to have a girl bunny and Courtney to have the boy one, or vice versa." So, anyways, that was kind of the discussion, and Courtney's husband, Andrew, was sitting there like, "Why do we need bunnies, Courtney? We're going to Africa." But she was like, "I want the bunnies," and I wanted them too. Anyways, long story short, me, being the peacemaker, was like, "I have a plan. Let's look online and see if we can find the bunnies. Like, I'm sure somebody somewhere will have these vintage bunnies." So I went on eBay and I looked up vintage Christmas bunnies, and I found them. Like, I found a set of these bunnies, and they're from like 1988 or something like that. Like, they're Toys R Us bunnies from like years ago, like probably 28, 30 years ago. I don't know, something like that. And somebody was selling a set of the Mr. and Mrs. Bunny Christmas bunnies on eBay. Well, I immediately purchased them, like, because I didn't want anybody else to get these Easter bunnies. And a couple weeks later, they showed up to our house, and they were actually there for Christmas Day. And instead of having 2 bunnies, we now have 4 bunnies, a set for Courtney and a set for me. And then, because you know how siblings do, Christmas Day was spent discussing who would get the original bunnies and who would get the new bunnies. And again, my dad's answer was no one gets the bunnies, which of course I would get some of them because I had paid for the 2 new ones. And my mom's answer was like, why don't you each take a new bunny and you each take an old bunny? So that's what we did. So Courtney has a new set, or 1 new one and 1 vintage one. I have 1 new one and 1 vintage one. The hilarity of it is that they're actually both vintage, because even the ones we got on eBay were from the same era. Like, they look exactly the same. Anyways, that is a really long random story that you probably didn't even care about. But that just tells you what I am doing here on this spread. So, anywho, on Christmas Day, Courtney and I decided to take a selfie with all 4 of the bunnies so I could journal about it. And as we tried to do that, Courtney's husband first, and then my dad decided to ruin our selfie. So there are 4 photos there. One that's an actual good selfie photo, and then one of Andrew photobombing, and then one of Andrew and my dad photobombing, and then one of Courtney and I trying to get them out of the photobomb. And it's just a whole bunch of little faces and bunny faces, and it was really hilarious. So I wanted to document that story and include it in my December daily, and include about taking these photos. So I backed each of those photos on that red and white polka dot paper from Felicity Jane, as you saw, and then I'm trying to decide how I want to decorate this insert. So I have 2 pieces of green paper that I backed back to back, and then I really wanted to use these Christmas trees that were doodles from Brandy Kincaid. I ended up cutting up that selfie fail card for the front of it and putting the date there, then adding the trees on the front and the back, and some enamel dots and little wood veneer pieces and things like that, adding my journaling, handwriting it. And there you go. I did skip ahead a little bit just because that took me a long time to decide. And that's pretty much what that spread looks like. Well, let's move on to the next page and a different story. If you're still with me watching, hopefully you are, and I didn't bore you with my bunny story. But maybe you can leave me a comment and let me know if you and your family have any items or stories like that. And how your family would have maybe reacted in that situation. So the next photo is a photo of my mom, sister, and I all wearing Christmas aprons as we were getting Christmas dinner ready. And I just love that photo so much that I included it in the spread. By the way, I did this really cool technique on that photo, and I'll do it a couple times, other times on the page too. You can see that the photo is black and white, but our aprons and us are in color, and that is done on purpose. The background was kind of distracting, and I didn't want it to distract from the story and what was going on, but I still wanted us to be in color, and I wanted you to be able to tell that we were wearing Christmas aprons. So I use this really cool app on my phone called ColorPop, C-O-L-O-R Pop, P-O-P, and it lets you turn your photo black and white and then selectively choose which areas you want to be colorful. So I used that, and then I printed it off on my Canon Selfie. And then I added just one of those circles there. And it had something else, but I just covered it up with a letter sticker and put together. I also added some enamel dots, a little wood veneer tree from Felicity Jane, and that Love Days Like This card from my stash, as well as a little die cut from Felicity Jane that had like a red scallop. And that's pretty much how I'm going to leave this spread. I might go back and add journaling, but I felt kind of happy with the way that it looked. I like the black, white, and red feel of it, so I decided to just keep it like that for now, and then if I want to go back and add journaling, I can add it to that like number section later. So I'll just pop that in and begin working on the next page. So on the next page, I have some photos of our Christmas dinner, and this is the end of that spread race, basically. So I have a photo of our table all set up for Christmas, a photo of the pie that we were going to have for dinner. By the way, I did not make that pie. Somebody gave it to us, and it's like the most epic looking pie ever. I also have a photo of this Christmas popper that we did that night for dinner, and again, I use that ColourPop app to get rid of the color and to just colorize the Christmas popper because I wanted him to stand out. Also, the background was really busy, so that way the focus of this layout is mostly the reds and greens that you see. So I backed both of those 3x4 photos with that red polka dot paper, and I am going to use another one of those labels on the Christmas dinner photo. And instead of writing on instead of writing on it, I decided to just use a label sticker. I think it said festive, and stick that on there. And then I'm also going to work on that bottom card. So I originally thought I would have the picture of the pie there, but I ended up deciding I didn't really like it on the spread and getting rid of it, and I'm just going to use the journaling cards on that pink paper. So this paper had a lot of blue on it, and there was no blue in the entire spread, so I didn't really love the blue. So I ended up cutting it off, and I'm going to cover up that little tiny rectangle of blue on the bottom of that card too. And then I had this wreath card from Felicity Jean, which I just really loved and I really wanted to use. And I had that circle that said C, and I think it said cookies or something, but I decided to just cover it up with a tiny word sticker, and I think I covered it up and put Christmas. And I'm going to put that on one side of that 4x6, and then on the other side I'll put that journaling spot and just journal about Christmas dinner with the family. And you can see that I completely covered up that blue that was bothering me. I'll also use some tiny word stickers to cover up that blue there too. That way you can't even see the blue. And I just used some of those word stickers that related to dinner and family and gathering and things like that. And then I just added a bunch of enamel dots and a little wood veneer tree just to tie those in there. And you can see those are the same enamel dots and things that I've been using throughout the entire December 25th spread. So I feel like it totally ties all the pages together. And now I'm going to just add my journaling. So I messily drew some lines, and then I wrote my journaling about having Christmas dinner with my family. I'm going to pop that in those pockets and finish this spread up by working on the very last page, which is the back. And this isn't really a December 25th page, which you can kind of tell because it's a completely different vibe. Instead, it's like the end of the album page. And like I said earlier, I really wanted to go with a goodbye 2017, hello 2018 vibe, which I've done in the back of my other December daily journals, and I just love the way that that works. So I adhered the Let's Do This letterpress card and that black and white journaling card. I have an S there, and I can't remember what that S said. I think it said snow or something like that. I think I might end up covering that up. I think it said snuggle. Yeah, and I cover up the snuggle, I'm pretty sure. And then on that other letterpress card, I added a gold glitter snowflake. So I ended up getting to use that on the spread after all. And then on the Happy New Year card, I'm going to use these black foam letter stickers to write out 2018. Yeah, because it's the new year. So happy 2018. I also grabbed a foam star and stapled that on to the top of that too, just to tie a little bit more of that foam black in there. And now I'm going to just add my journaling, and it's basically just about saying goodbye to the old year and hello to the new year, and excited to see what the new year has in store. So I'm going to pop those into those pockets, And that's basically it. The 25th is done, 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 and done. So I'm going to just slow this down and show you guys what the whole entire 25th looks like. Thank you so much for joining me today for this longer spread. I hope that you guys enjoyed checking it out. I'll be back soon with an entire album walkthrough so you can see how my whole December daily turned out. And thank you so much for all your patience this year. I know the photos and the videos didn't really work out the way that I had planned, but there is a process video for almost all of them. So thank you so much for joining me, and check back soon for another video. Bye!